27 of the world's most valuable treasures are still missing. Will we ever find the Ark of the Covenant or a treasure depicted in the Dead Sea Scrolls? Fantastic treasures from various cultures have been stolen or mysteriously gone missing. Often their theft or disappearance happens during war or disaster, when they can't be protected, or when a military force decides to take those treasures as a trophy. Sometimes treasures are recovered, but many are still missing. Let's look at some of these lost treasures that may never be found. Some of these treasures are now likely destroyed, but some may still exist and one day be recovered. The Amber Room. The Amber Room was constructed in the Catherine Palace in the 18th century in Sarcophagus, near St. Petersburg. The room contained gold-gilded mosaics, mirrors, and carvings, along with panels constructed out of about 1,000 pounds, 450 kilograms, of amber. Sarcophagus was captured by Germany in 1941 during World War II, and the room's panels and artwork were disassembled and taken to Germany. They haven't been seen since, and they may be now destroyed. Today, the Catherine Palace hosts a recreation of the Amber Room. Sarcophagus of Menkaure. The pyramid of Egyptian pharaoh Menkaure is the smallest of the three pyramids constructed at Giza around 4,500 years ago. In the 1830s, English military officer Howard Vyse explored the Giza pyramids, at times using destructive techniques, his use of explosives being the most notorious, to make his way through the structures. Vyse made some discoveries at Giza, including an ornate sarcophagus found in Menkaure's pyramid. Vyse tried to ship the sarcophagus to England in 1838 aboard the merchant ship Beatrice, but the ship sank during its journey and took the ornate sarcophagus down with it. If the Beatrice is ever found, it may be possible to retrieve the ancient sarcophagus. Ark of the Covenant. According to the Hebrew Bible, the Ark of the Covenant was a chest that held tablets engraved with the Ten Commandments. The chest was kept in a temple in Jerusalem in ancient Israel that was said to have been built by King Solomon. This temple, sometimes called the First Temple, was the most sacred site on earth for the Jewish people, but it was destroyed in 587 BC when an army from ancient Babylon, led by King Nebuchadnezzar II, conquered Jerusalem and sacked the city. It's unclear what happened to the Ark of the Covenant, and its location has long been a source of speculation. Honjo Masamune Sword. The Honjo Masamune is a sword that was supposedly created by Honjo Masamune, who lived from 1264 to 1343 and is considered by many to be the greatest sword maker in Japanese history. The sword is named after one of its owners, Honjo Shijinaga, who took it as a prize after a 16th-century battle. The sword later came into the possession of Tokugawa Ieyasu, who became the first shogun of Japan after winning a series of wars in the 16th century. The sword passed down through the Tokugawa family until the end of World War II when the sword was turned over to American authorities during the American occupation of Japan, as they were concerned that the sword, and others like it, could be used against the Americans. But the sword never reappeared. It's possible that U.S. soldiers destroyed the sword, along with other captured Japanese weapons, or they may have brought the sword to America, meaning it could be recovered. Crown Jewels of Ireland. Stolen in 1907 from Dublin Castle, the Crown Jewels of Ireland were not connected with any coronation ceremony and included no crown. Rather, they comprised a jeweled star of the Order of St. Patrick and a diamond brooch and 5 gold collars of that order, all Crown property. Tommaso Reardon, historian and project manager at University College Cork, wrote in an article published in 2001 in History Ireland magazine. The Order of St. Patrick was founded in 1783, to reward those in high office in Ireland and Irish peers, referred to as Knights Companions, on whose support the government of the day depended, O'Riordan wrote. Britain controlled Ireland at the time these crown jewels were created in 1783. The jewelry was made from 394 stones taken from Queen Charlotte's jewelry and an Order of the Bath badge. Queen Charlotte was the wife of King George III. The jewels also held rupees from a Mughal emperor and possibly precious stones provided by a Sultan of Turkey, O'Riordan said. The jewels were kept in a library, and lack security was blamed for making the robbery possible. Who stole the jewels and what happened to them remain a mystery. A wide range of people have been suspected of pulling off the heist, including Francis Shackleton, brother of the famous explorer Ernest Shackleton, although nothing was ever proven. Sappho's lost poems. The Greek lyric poet Sappho, who lived in the 7th century BC, was the Shakespeare of her day. She was highly regarded by the ancient Greeks, who considered her to be one of the finest poets. Unfortunately for us, few of her poems still survive. In 2014, however, sections of 2 never-before-seen poems by Sappho were revealed by University of Oxford papyrologist Dirk Obink. One poem talks about her brothers, while the other tells of unrequited love. Their provenance is unclear. In 2021 Brill retracted an article written by Obink that detailed its provenance, and right now it is uncertain where exactly they come from. Dead Bishop's Treasure. In 1357, a ship called the São Vicente set sail from Lisbon in Portugal to Avignon in France, carrying treasures acquired by Thibaut de Castillon, the Bishop of Lisbon who had recently died. The treasures included gold, silver, rings, tapestries, jewels, fine plates, and even portable altars. While sailing near the town of Cartagena, in modern-day Spain, the São Vicente was attacked by 2 heavily armed pirate vessels, whose crew seized the treasure. One pirate ship, commanded by a man named Antonio Botafoc, which in the languages used at the time in Iberia means fire blast or fire fart, was later captured after it ran aground. However, the other pirate ship, commanded by Martin Yanes, appears to have made a clean getaway. What happened to Yanes, his pirate crew and the stolen treasure is unknown. The Just Judges. The Just Judges panel is part of the Ghent altarpiece, a 15th-century work of art painted by Hubert and Jan van Eyck in St. Bavo's Cathedral in Ghent, Belgium. The panel shows many characters, whose identities are uncertain, on horseback. Philip the Good, who was Duke of Burgundy at the time the altarpiece was created, is likely one of the characters. The panel was stolen in 1934 and has never been found. However, despite the passage of time, new tips continue to come in, and the case file, which is now more than 2,000 pages long, is still active. Noah Charney, an art historian, wrote in an article published in The Guardian in 2013. There had been numerous other attempts to steal the Just Judges panel and other parts of the Ghent altarpiece before the 1934 theft. Florentine Diamond. The yellow 137-carat Florentine diamond was likely from India and may have made its way to Europe by the end of the 15th century. How and when it got to Europe is a matter of debate. One story is that Charles the Bold, who was the Duke of Burgundy from 1467 to 1477, had it cut from a larger diamond and was so enamored with the Florentine diamond that he even carried it with him into battle and was supposedly killed with it on him. After World War I, the last emperor of Austria-Hungary, Charles I, fled with it to Switzerland, where he put it in a bank vault and entrusted it to an Austrian lawyer named Bruno Steiner, who was supposed to help the deposed royal family sell it and other royal jewels, wrote historian Gordon Brooke Shepherd in the book Uncrowned Emperor, The Life and Times of Otto von Habsburg, Bloomsbury, 2007. It's unclear what happened next. A news report published in 1924 indicated that Steiner was arrested, charged with fraud, and acquitted. It's possible that the Florentine diamond was recut and is now a series of smaller diamonds. Lost Da Vinci mural. In 1505, Leonardo da Vinci painted a mural depicting the 1440 victory of the Italian League, led by Florence, over Milan in the Battle of Anghiari. The mural, created in the Palazzo Vecchio, the town hall in Florence, disappeared in 1563 when the hall was remodeled by painter and architect Giorgio Vasari. In 2012, a team of art experts announced they had discovered evidence that the mural was not destroyed and that Vasari had simply painted his mural over Da Vinci's work. The team had been doing scientific tests on the mural for years and had published a few of their studies, including a radar study published in the journal NDT&E International in 2005. However, the team's results were never confirmed, and the research was put on indefinite hold later that year. In 2020, a different team of researchers contended that Da Vinci had never painted the mural to begin with, although this claim is also disputed. Ultimately, what became of the mural, and whether it even existed, is a subject of debate. Menorah from the Second Temple. Between roughly AD 66 and 74, Jewish rebels fought against the Roman army in an attempt to free Israel from the Roman Empire's control. In AD 70, the rebels suffered a critical blow as Jerusalem was captured by a Roman force led by Titus, a general who would later become a Roman emperor. The Second Temple, at that time the most important religious site for Jewish people, was destroyed, and the Roman army carried its treasures back to ancient Rome. Those treasures included the temple's menorah, a lamp stand with 6 branches. The Arch of Titus, located close to the Colosseum in Rome, includes a scene depicting the menorah being carried to Rome. In the scene, the menorah appears as a massive object, almost as big as the soldiers carrying it. The fate of the menorah after it arrived in Rome is unclear. Copper scroll treasures. Perhaps the most unusual Dead Sea Scroll discovered in the Qumran caves in the West Bank is a text engraved on a sheet of copper that discusses the location of a vast amount of hidden treasure. This copper scroll, as it is called, is in a museum in Jordan. Whether the ancient writer of the scroll was describing a real or legendary treasure is a source of debate among scholars. At the time the scroll was written, around AD 70, the Roman army was in the process of defeating Jewish groups that were rebelling against Roman rule. The Roman army had taken Jerusalem and destroyed the Second Temple. Some scholars have speculated that the treasures referred to in the copper scroll could be real treasures that were hidden before the Roman army destroyed the temple. Other scholars have argued that the amount of treasure discussed in the copper scroll is so vast that it must be the stuff of legend. Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum stolen art. On March 18, 1990, 2 thieves dressed as police officers broke into the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston, Massachusetts, and stole 13 works of art valued at about $500 million. They included 3 works by the Dutch painter Rembrandt and 5 works by the French artist Edgar Degas. The thieves' identity is still unknown, and the artwork has never been recovered. It's possible that the thieves who stole the works of art are now dead and the paintings are severely damaged or destroyed. Despite the high value of the art, it would be difficult to sell as it is well known, and any buyer could easily determine that it was stolen and end up facing criminal charges themselves. Peking Man. In 1923, the fossils of a hominid that is sometimes called Peking Man, a form of Homo erectus, who lived between 200,000 and 750,000 years ago, were discovered in a cave near the village of Zhoukoudian, close to Beijing, which at that time was called Peking. The fossils disappeared in 1941, during the Japanese invasion of China, and their location today is unknown. Some scholars have speculated that the fossils were lost at sea while being transported to the United States, to save them from the invasion. Others think they may be located under a parking lot in China.
Q source. Q source, as modern-day scholars call it, or sometimes Q, is a hypothetical 1st century AD text that contains many sayings attributed to Jesus. If it existed, scholars believe that Q source was used by ancient writers to help craft the Gospels of Matthew and Luke. The existence of Q source is based partly on the fact that several passages in Matthew and Luke are identical. While the Gospel of Mark is believed to be a source for both Matthew and Luke, some passages included in both Matthew and Luke are not in Mark. Some scholars believe that those passages are from another source, which they call Q source. Q stands for Quelle, which means source in German. The problem is that no copy of Q source, if it existed, is known to have survived. Some recent scholarship suggests that the Gospel of Marcion, a 2nd century non-canonical text, may contain parts of this Q source. Nazi gold. According to legend, near the end of World War II, a Nazi force led by SS officer Ernst Kaltenbrunner sank a vast amount of gold into Lake Toplitz in Austria to keep it from being captured by the invading Allied forces. Since that time, numerous searches have been undertaken, but, so far, no gold has been found. It's possible that the story is a just legend and that in reality no gold was sunk into the lake. However, some researchers have noted that the lake has poor visibility and a vast amount of logs and debris that make attempts to locate any gold both difficult and dangerous. Some divers have been killed trying to find gold in the lake's waters. Lost Raphael painting. The Italian painter Raphael Sanzio, often simply called Raphael, who lived from 1483 to 1520, painted this striking portrait of a young man. The identity of the person in the painting and the exact date when Raphael made it are both unknown. The painting was owned by the Czartoryski Museum in Krakow, Poland, in September 1939 when the German army invaded Poland. Nazi officials stole the painting from the museum and intended to put it in the Planführer Museum in Linz, the Linz Art Gallery, Austria, the Monuments Men Foundation noted on its website. The Führer Museum was never built, and the painting was last seen in Hans Frank's chalet in Neuhaus on Lake Schliersee, Germany, in January 1945. Frank was a Nazi official who was put in charge of occupied Poland, where he oversaw numerous war crimes and the murder of Poland's Jews. After World War II, he was put on trial, sentenced to death, and executed, but Raphael's painting has never been found. Royal Casket. In 1800, Poland's Princess Isabella Czartoryska created the so-called Royal Casket, which was a collection of artifacts from the royal families who had ruled the country. These artifacts included jewels worn by the kings of Poland, works of art, and other mementos. Poland had ceased to exist as an independent state in 1795, having been divided among the various other powers in the region. The royal casket would eventually fall victim to another group of invaders. It was seized by Nazi Germany after it invaded Poland in September 1939. The casket's contents are now lost. Love's Labours Won. William Shakespeare is known to have written the play Love's Labours Won, though no copies survive today. It may be a sequel to Love's Labours Lost, a comedy that Shakespeare penned in the 1590s. Documents in the 1590s and 1600s indicate that Love's Labours Won had been published by 1598 and was still being sold in 1603, although no surviving copies have been found. William Carroll, an English professor at Boston University, wrote in the preface to a republished edition of Love's Labours Lost, Cambridge University Press, 2009. Some scholars believe that records of Love Labours Won refer to another play by Shakespeare called Much Ado About Nothing, which is well known and is still performed today. One Royal Shakespeare Company production even retitled a performance of Much Ado About Nothing to Love Labours Won, based on this theory. 1st century Gospels. The oldest surviving copies of the canonical Christian Gospels, Mark, Luke, Matthew, and John, date to the 2nd century AD. However, many scholars believe that some of these Gospels were initially written in the second half of the 1st century AD. This has led to several questions. Do any copies survive from the 1st century? If so, how could we determine their date? In 2015, scholars reported that they had found a fragment of the Gospel of Mark within the remains of a mummy mask, which they believed dated to the 1st century. However, after the text was published in a 2018 edition of the journal The Oxyrhynchus Papyri, it turned out that the text dated to the 2nd or 3rd century. Michelangelo's Mask of a Faun. This marble, Mask of a faun being a half-human, half-goat mythological creature, has been attributed to the Italian artist Michelangelo di Lodovico Buonarroti Simoni, often simply called Michelangelo, who lived from 1475 to 1564. The Bargello Museum in Florence, Italy, owned the mask, but it was stolen in 1944 from Castello di Papi, a castle in Tuscany. The thieves? Soldiers from the German Army's 305th Division that was attached to the German 10th Army, the Monuments Men Foundation noted on its website. The soldiers stole the mask sometime between August 22 and August 23, 1944, and placed it in a truck. After a short stop in Forlì, Italy, the 10th Army truck containing this work of art and others continued on August 31, the Foundation's website said. This appears to have been the last time it was seen and the mask's present location is unknown. Caravaggio's Nativity. The Nativity with Saint Francis and Saint Lawrence was created in 1609 by the Italian painter Michelangelo de Caravaggio, who lived from 1571 to 1610. It shows the birth of Christ, with the infant Jesus lying on a haystack, a scene that highlights the poverty of his birth, according to scholars. The painting was stolen in 1969 when it was in a chapel in Palermo, in Sicily, Italy. The painting was never found, and it remains unclear who stole it. It's long been suspected that members of the Sicilian mafia carried out the heist. In 2015, a replica of the painting was unveiled in the chapel where the original was stolen. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and support. We kindly request that you take a moment to like and subscribe to our channel. Doing so enables us to continue creating high-quality content for you. Thank you for your continued patronage and support.